Good morning and welcome to this morning's webinar on 360 Visibility and Control of your Business Critical Apps. My name is Vanessa Cardwell. I'm Marketing Manager here at Network Utility Systems Limited, and I'm joined this morning by Rob Marshall, Regional Sales Manager at Exinda, and Justin Headley, Exinda Engineer. Today's presentation will last about 30 minutes with an opportunity for you to submit questions, which we will answer at the end. Please use the question tab on the control panel to submit any questions you have at any point in the presentation. So just to quickly take you through the agenda, first Rob Marshall will take you through some of the challenges you may be facing in your organisation around network and application performance, with steady migration to the cloud and web applications and the increase in demand for social media, etc. Rob will then hand over to Justin, who will take you through the Exinda solution and how it addresses these challenges. I'd like to hand over to Rob now, who will outline some of the network performance challenges you may be experiencing. We hope you enjoy the presentation and we look forward to answering any questions you may have at the end. So Rob, I'm handing over to you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hi everyone on the webinar. My name is Rob Marshall. As Vanessa said, I'm the Regional Sales Manager here in the UK for Exinda. And I'm really keen just to talk for the next 3 or 4 minutes just around I think day-to-day activity and what we're seeing in the market with our customers and the network utilities customers in terms of the challenges that businesses are facing around how to apply control and performance assurance around day-to-day application and internet activity within an organisation's infrastructure. So what we've tried to do here is we've tried to just outline 3 business scenarios, and what I will do is overlay those scenarios as to the proposition that we have here at Exinda, which addresses these associated challenges. So really, just firstly, there is a massive visibility challenge for organisations currently, particularly on main internet links into a business's data centre, as well as an MPLS WAN feeds, and or both. And the reason for this is because today we're seeing a massive increase in size of applications, and there's a massive blur between what is a justifiable business use of something like a social media application, and then how exactly are the network teams and the IT teams within organisations able to make an understanding, an informed understanding of what the challenge is, and how then they can actually apply this intelligence to the necessary controls and containment of exactly what is business critical to a business's users on a daily basis. So from a visibility perspective, Exinda, we're very, very comprehensive. We go down to a layer 7 application. We understand applications. We integrate into Active Directory, so we can go down to a per user level and understand per user activity, and we're very granular from that respect. So the visibility challenge is one thing, and then it's, like we've mentioned, the control aspect as well. What are companies actually doing to provide the containment and control of these applications? So as you can see from the slide, providing the necessary controls and policing around different applications is becoming extremely complex. So really what we do at Exinda, we incorporate the visibility piece and then the control element. And what we mean by the control element is obviously providing a prioritization to those critical applications, being able to do clever things like apply a class of service real-time or a quality of service to specific types of applications, perhaps something like video, perhaps something like VoIP, or whatever that day-to-day application may be which is critical to the business. So we have the visibility. We can apply that, we can address those challenges, we can apply the necessary controls to this intelligence once we have it. Then thirdly, the key part to all of this is, at what point then do we as an organisation working with IT and network teams be able to enhance performance of these applications which we're now controlling and understanding? And so what we do is we integrate 3 core elements. So the visibility, the control, and then the optimization piece. So once we have all this information, we apply the controls. What is now critical to the business to be able to enhance performance and give that consistent user experience which every organisation is looking to achieve. So here at Exinda, in a nutshell, to high level summarise, we're integrating 3 core elements. We are unique in the marketplace. We apply the necessary visibility. We can then apply the control techniques integrated into an optimisation platform which is easy to use, easy to deploy and easy to manage. And with that last point, the easy to manage piece, we're going to hand over to Justin, our engineer, and he's actually going to show you through one of our live demos, actually showing how easy it is to navigate around an Exinda solution, and more importantly, what are the benefits of exactly what we see once we're on the network. So hopefully that's giving you a little bit of an overview of associated challenges that we see in the marketplace on a day-to-day basis. And now we can actually give you some real-life scenarios by showing this live. So if it's okay, Vanessa, we can hand over to Justin.
Okay, handing over to Justin now.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Hopefully you can all see my screen. My name is Justin Headley. I'm an Exinda SE, and today, as Rob has said, I will be showing you through the interface of the Exinda, showing all the benefits, showing you the visibility you get within the Exinda box, and then how you can then control and optimize all those applications and hopefully see benefit on your network. So first of all, when you log into an Exinda device, you get straight through to the overall benefits dashboard. Now this gives you a very high-level view of what's going on your network. As we can see, we can have a look at what applications are being used on the network. Through a date range, you can see today, yesterday, over the last 7 days on this dashboard. This gives us visibility on the applications that are on your network, both inbound and outbound, what the link utilization is like on the network, having a look at recreational activities to see if anybody's doing something that they maybe shouldn't be doing on there, using games or peer-to-peer or social media. If we've got any reduction on there, if we are applying any acceleration techniques, what reduction are we seeing there, and how many of our applications are actually being prioritized. So it gives us a general overview. Each of these, we can click on the hyperlinks at the bottom to drill down into more information, and I'll have a look at those now. The majority of your time that you spend when you're looking will be in the monitoring section, the visibility section of Exinda. And what this does is this breaks it down into all the different types of reports and views we can see. The monitoring section is broken down into 2 parts, or I like to break it down into 2 parts. First of all, you have real-time view. So this is what's going on your network right at this moment. There's a refresh rate here from anywhere between 10 and 60 seconds, and it shows you the snapshot at this moment. So we can see conversations that are going on, the internal and external IP address, what application they're using, and how much bandwidth they are using. The 2 different colors that you are seeing here, first of all, the one in yellow means it is an accelerated application, so we should be seeing some benefit from that conversation. And the other one is prioritized as a web caching. One of the features is called that Exinda has is edge caching. So caching web pages, YouTube clips, etc. on your network, using the Exinda box, so therefore saving you bandwidth as well. So we can see that per conversation. You can see it refreshing as I'm talking. We can also have a look at the view by application. So we can see what applications are happening in real time. FTP, HTTP, bit of LDAP, both inbound and outbound. And that gives us the distribution, how much percentage-wise of the traffic we're seeing is associated with each application. We can have a look at the individual hosts on our network to see which hosts are producing the most amount of traffic. We also have a reductions tab to show you which applications are being reduced and how much how much bandwidth we are saving. And you can see over the FTP application going onto the LAN, it was coming up to 1 gigabyte, but actually Exinda managed to save and brought that down to just 7 meg going across. So we're seeing, and that's a very high percentage, 99% saving there. So we are getting benefit by having FTP accelerated. Not only does it show us what's happening in terms of the applications and who's transmitting what, we can actually see the health and how good these applications are performing. So we can see if there's any retransmissions, or it will indicate to us if there is a network or server delay on there, and whether they're performing okay. And then we can also not only look at the application performance, but also the health, the host performance as well, to see if any of the servers or the hosts are actually putting out more retransmissions or having problems communicating with the servers. So it can point us into the direction. If we're having bad network issues, we can have a look in here and see what's happening in real time. So that's a real-time segment, and that's very useful to see what's happening at this point. But if a user rings you up and says, I had this issue 2 days ago, it was performing slowly, you want to look back at it, at the historical data. So that is the rest of the tabs on the left-hand side. And an Exinda device can store statistical information for about 2 years. So we can go back to any point over the last 2 years and have a look and see about the data and what was happening. So let's go through a bit of a scenario. We've heard that some people have experienced a bit of a slowdown in their network activity and their internet speed. So we have a look at the interface and we can see the average and the maximum amount of bandwidth being used through our interface. And we can see here that there's a bit of a spike going on. We can zoom into the spike by dragging across, and that will zoom into that section. So if we zoom in a little bit more, we can see there that it spiked up to about 43 megabytes a second. So once we've got that, we want to then actually have a look at the applications that caused that spike. So we then click on the Network tab, and that will then show us which applications we're using. And again, we can see this spike again. So if we zoom in, if my mouse behaves, there we go, we can zoom into this section here and actually have a look. And let's see, according to the table below, we saw a massive spike in HTTP and FTP traffic. That's great. So what we want to do now is actually have a look at who was using that data. So we can, rather than going and having a look at the applications, let's have a look at the hosts. And let's have a look at the internal hosts. That will probably be more appropriate. And what this will do is this will then show us the individual hosts that were actually producing that data or using that bandwidth. And we can see here, if we zoom in on this spike again, here we go, oops, it refreshed there, and we see actually there, we saw a big spike of the orange, the orange host, .99. So we can go and then investigate and see what IP, what device that is that's doing all of this, producing all this FTP and HTTP traffic. So that gives us, we've been able to see a spike in bandwidth and narrow it down to an individual host and the application that is using, which is very useful for diagnosing. Maybe someone was uploading a file. For a general overview of the application, so we can have a look at a general overview of applications. And my Java seems to be playing up a little bit there. So we can see over any sort of date range, and the date range can be the last 60 minutes to the last 12 months, the current month, or the previous year. So you can see that we can go back for over that 2-year period. So over the course of the current day, we are seeing a lot of web traffic, a lot of file services, database services. So Exinda grouped together different types of applications to give an overview of the type of application that we're seeing. So we can see that there are web services. So at this point, we can then drill down into web and see what type of web traffic we were seeing. So majority of it was HTTP and a little bit of HTTPS. Again, we can drill down further and have a look at the hosts which we're using, the HTTP traffic. So we can see here that, again, this .99 is coming out. That might be, this is a demo environment, so I don't know what these hosts are. That could be a web server. It could be something else. So we can investigate and see what's happening there. Going back to the applications, not only can we see the groups of applications, but we can also see the individual applications if we want, which is the drill down that we went to. We can also, because as Rob said, we are layer 7 aware, we can also see URLs as well. So we can see what websites people have been looking at. And again, we can drill down from here. So the fourth most popular, fifth most popular one there is Liquor King. I'm sure that's probably not a business website that people are going to. So let's click on that link and let's see who's been going to that website. We could see Facebook in here. A little bit further down there, I saw Kick-Ass Torrents. So again, we can see which hosts are going to these websites. Not only does it do applications, but we also have voice over IP scoring as well. So if there's voice over IP on your network, you can have a look, and we can see here we've got a couple of calls, so there isn't much voice over IP on this network, but it'll give you the 50 worst conversations. So it has a look at the delay, the jitter, the MOS score to give you this R factor. So you can see, so if somebody complains about their voice calls, you can then see if they were talking about and how it was scored. So you've got complete visibility of your voice over IP traffic as well. So some of the other options in here we've seen through drilling down on each of the graphs. Again, we can see the users. So as Rob mentioned as well, we integrate with Active Directory. There's a little application that is stored that you install on a domain controller. It monitors and associates login events with the user ID and an IP address. Because sometimes IP addresses aren't very useful, especially in your workstation environment. If you've got DHCP, each user might get a different IP address, so you don't know who is actually using that IP. But by using the little application, we can then see, and it maps usernames. So we can see here that Lucas has been using the most amount of traffic. And again, unsurprisingly, we can then drill down onto Lucas to see what applications he is using. So at any point when you see whether it's an overview or a specific bit of information you've seen, you can always navigate through to different parts to view and change your view to find out more information. So that's all the visibility. So that's the visibility that you can see. And from this, you can get an overview, a picture of what's happening on your network. From there, you may then want to start prioritizing traffic or accelerating, optimizing that traffic. So in there, we go into the optimizer. And this is where we set out all the rules to either prioritize or to optimize traffic. So we have a circuit at the top, which is our overall bandwidth. We then break that down into different virtual circuits where we can associate and portion different types of traffic to different types of users going to different locations. So you might have different locations, one where all your database servers are and one where your mail servers are. And for each of those locations, for your mail server site, you can prioritize mail traffic. For your database servers, you can prioritize database traffic. So here we can see going out from the WAN, going to the branch office, and we've got another virtual circuit going from all places out onto the internet. These rules work like any firewall-based rule, top-down approach. It'll go down, does it meet a rule? If it does, it will apply the settings that apply to that rule and then not go any further. So there are three key points and three key rules to have a look at. First of all, we have the lower percentage. Now that is the minimum guaranteed bandwidth that you are given to this application or groups of applications. The next one is the maximum amount of bandwidth that that application can use. So obviously you don't want peer-to-peer on your network because that can take up a lot of bandwidth. So we choke that and we restrict it down to 3%. So we're not blocking peer-to-peer. Because one of the challenges with peer-to-peer software, especially with something like BitTorrent, is if you block and stop the connections going out, then some of the clients will then try and use a different port to try and get around it. By restricting it but allowing it, the client is happy because it's made a connection, but the user isn't because you're downloading it a few K a second and therefore going to take you 10 hours to download the latest movie. Once you've set those two levels, the next setting to look at is the priority. So as we can see down with file and web and mail, they can all burst up to 100%. Now what happens if two applications want to use that bandwidth at the same time? Then it goes on the priority. So priority 6 for mail, priority 1 for voice. Obviously you want to guarantee that your voice quality is the best. You don't want dropping conversations or bitty conversations, so we give it the highest priority. If we just go in and have a look at one of these rules, we can see how these rules are actually generated. So we give it a policy name, we give it a schedule. So we can make these rules happen on a schedule. So we can restrict social networking, Twitter, Facebook, etc. during work hours, but outside of work hours, during lunchtime, we can give them different priority or turn the restrictioning off. What do we want to do? We want to optimize, discard, or ignore. So we can actually put a rule in there to say discard that type of traffic. Here we can see we can specify either all traffic coming out, or we can specify saying, right, actually it's only staff that this applies to, or this is going from the Hong Kong network going to another network. And here we can then choose either groups of applications at the top or individual applications, so what we want to actually prioritize. Here we enter in the bandwidth settings and what priority. So that is the optimization part of it, or the control part of it. Then if you want to then prioritize and optimize that traffic and accelerate it, we can then use a variety different of either acceleration or edge caching, which I mentioned before. And if we want to, this is for voice, so we can't actually do too much, so it's probably a bad example picking voice. So we'll go into a different one, excuse me, and have a look. Let's have a look at web. That's a very useful one. And here we can then see, do we want to use acceleration? What type of do we want to use? Disk acceleration, so caching at either end. So if you've got two boxes, you can cache that traffic. If it's the same, that if it's somebody's accessing a file or something like that that's the same, then it won't download it again saving bandwidth. Compression, different compression techniques to reduce the amount of traffic that's going across your wire. So we can also apply acceleration there, so that then optimizes that traffic. So that is how easy it is to set up your policy, your rules, to prioritize the traffic, and then to optimize them as well. And we can see here that files has been accelerated. We're using edge caching, so storing websites and data on the Exinda boxes, so if somebody else goes to it, we've all seen it where a YouTube clips have gone round and 20 people in the office have tried to access it. The first person to access it would download it, it'd be cached on the Exinda box, then all the other people would get it from the Exinda box. And when this came out, we did a test. I had a 5-minute clip and it took 3 minutes to cache the first time I viewed it. The second time I viewed it, it must have cached in about 30 seconds. So we had a lot of saving there. So that is the policies. I just want to show you the applications and how they are grouped. So looking at the applications, and these are all the standard applications that come with Exinda. So we can see that they are either done on a protocol and a port number, or it goes to a layer 7 signature here that Adobe updates host adobe.com. And we can do that with Facebook as well, and any others. Facebook is a good example because there are a few different sorts of layer 7 signatures that Facebook uses. Facebook.com, fbcdn.net, etc. So that's how we add them in, and we can also add in bespoke applications as well. So if you have your own applications, you can add them in here as well, and Exinda will then identify them, and you can do all your prioritization. And you can the application groups as well. Again, Exinda apply each of these applications into a group. You can edit these groups, transfer them out, create new groups yourselves to put together applications, and rather than having 10 rules for 10 applications, one rule with all those applications in a group. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of an overview as to what we can see on the network, and then how we can do something about that, hopefully then saving you bandwidth and network resources.
Thank you very much for that, Justin and Rob, for those informative presentations. We'd like to open up now to questions. So if you have any questions for Rob and Justin, please use the question tab to submit these now. Just wait a second or two to see if any questions come through. Okay, so this looks like a question for you, Rob.
Yep.
How many applications does the Exinda solution support out of the box?
How many applications? So yeah. Currently, as you would have seen from the interface that Justin was showing, we support in excess of 3,000 applications out of the box. And as you would have seen, those 3,000 applications are conveniently siloed into 18 specific application groups. But it's important to note, as we're an application-aware company, every subsequent version release will be updated with applications that we support as we move forward.
Okay, that's great.
If that answers the question, I hope it does.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you, Rob. And another one I think is probably for you as well that's just come through is, how is the Exinda solution sized and licensed?
How's it sized and licensed? Well, it's very simple, really. So all we're interested in is the size of bandwidth. And what I mean by that is, firstly, understanding what the main bandwidth is into a customer's main data center, and also understanding if they were to then look at optimization and acceleration, bandwidth to the remote sites. So we're interested in bandwidth to the main data centers and then out to the remote sites. Also the size of an internet connection as well we'd need to know. And then in order to size our products correctly, we would need to understand number of users at the remote sites as well. But it just gives me an opportunity just to clarify, the Exinda solution is appliance-based, but when we term appliance, that can be both hardware and or virtual appliance as well. So we support any hypervisor out there where the Exinda appliance can be imaged.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for that, Rob and Justin. Thank you all very much for joining the webinar today. I think we'll finish off there. We're close to our 30 minutes. We hope you found today's webinar useful. A recording will be made available shortly, so do keep an eye out on our website for that, netutils.com. And if you'd like to speak to a solutions expert about anything you've seen today, please do get in touch with us on the numbers that you can see here. And to view the demo Justin has just run through for you, you can access the demo server link, and the link is also printed on the slide. So thank you very much again for joining us today.